Hello and welcome to the speed paint. In the background, I will be drawing an interpretation of the painting The Scream by Munch, and later I will be painting an interpretation of Wheat Field with Crows by Van Gogh. The reason that I chose these two paintings is because they are made by two artists who often fall into the category of the tortured artist. It is a subject that's been on my mind for a while and that I wanted to talk about. So here are my two interpretations, and I will be talking about how this image of the tortured artist came to be and how it influences artists today. I can only make art when I'm sad. It's something I've thought myself and I've heard many other artists say, including my friends or celebrities who I've admired for a long time, like Gerard Way or Munch, which is why I'm making this interpretation. I wondered for a very long time where it came from, so here's some of my findings. I will also mostly be talking about the visual arts, painting, drawing, and such, mostly because the difference in status among the arts is too big and it would take too long to discuss all of the arts. For example, poetry was seen as something with much higher status than painting in the Middle Ages, mostly because so few people knew how to write. I'll also be focusing on Western Europe because I know this culture the best and I'm unsure if this phenomenon is as strong in other parts of the world. Not too long ago, the painter was not in a separate category from other craftsmen. In the Middle Ages, they worked in large teams and creativity was not appreciated, as they were hired to make a specific painting, not to show off their great minds. Painters did not have any higher status than carpenters and didn't become famous for their work. In the Renaissance, artists started to be seen as people who needed to be intellectually skilled, not just craftsmen. This made creativity more valuable, and the idea of the artistic genius was needed to be an artist came up. However, this image of the tortured artist, as we see in later days and still prevails today, is not quite seen yet. However, it was common for artists to claim that there was a certain element of being an artist that one was born with and one cannot learn. This is to distinguish themselves from other craftsmen so they could make more money. This might be something that accompanies the tortured artist because he is something different from other people from birth. Some claim that the idea of the tortured artist started with Plato, however, I'm not convinced. This idea is mostly derived from Plato writing, and I quote, "The dangers of poets are that they corrupt youth and incite the passions instead of the facilities of reason, and that the tragic poet is an imitator, and therefore, like all other imitators, he is thrice removed from the king and from the truth." And yes, Plato was not a big fan of poetry or the visual arts, as he also thought that it was removed from reality and just a pale imitation of nature, but I do not think that this led to the image of the tortured artist that we have today. The tortured artist is closely related to the starving artist, an image that was very popular in the 18th century. In books and paintings, the starving artist was depicted and romanticized. Here, an artist would be represented who is giving up everything just to succeed in his passion. I seriously doubt that there were any starving artists in the Middle Ages who were starving for the same reasons as these artists were and still are. Giving up everything just to pursue your passion is something that is still pushed in media today. Think of all those Disney Channel movies where the main character is a teen who decides not to go to law school to become a dancer. This idea is very much connected to the idea of artistic genius. The artist is different and special and is born with this innate quality to be an artist and therefore needs to give up everything just to pursue this passion. An artist who gives up everything for his art, which, if we're also going by the patriarchal standard of this artist for some reason always being a man, with few exceptions, someone who starves just to afford paint, an addict, someone who goes crazy pursuing his passion and ultimately dies tragically. An artist that fits this idea perfectly is Van Gogh, which is also why I chose Wheatfield with Crows to interpret in this video. Van Gogh is the ideal when it comes to this picture that people have in their mind of being the artist. However, some parts of his story have been altered. One thing that I want to bring to light is specifically related to the painting that I'm reinterpreting in this video. Wheat Filled with Crows is often attributed to be his very last painting, and it does fit this narrative because it is such a dark, gloomy painting. It is so sad, and it is very obvious that he was not in a very happy place when he made this painting. However, this is not his last painting. There is a different painting, a smaller one, which is often overlooked, and it is a painting of the roots of a tree. Not very significant, and it doesn't really fit this narrative. This shows that some parts of Van Gogh's story have sort of become fiction, almost to add to this romanticized version of his life. Another subject that I did want to mention is the subject of outsider art. I think it is very important to this subject because, to me, art of mentally ill people almost being paraded around along with the artists and their problems is so telling of this problem. People seem so interested in this art, and I don't know if it's for the right reasons. I've seen some videos where they show art made by people with schizophrenia, and it doesn't sit right with me. It has scary music in the background with a mysterious narrator who describes it as FNAF lore. I just don't know. I can't even concretely put into words what is so off about it to me, but just showing this and romanticizing it and kind of twisting it into mental illness is something good because you get this amazing art out of it. I just don't think there's a good side to this. I don't really want to get into like the medical side of this because there's a lot of conflicting evidence and studies that prove certain things and then other studies that prove other things. So for this argument, I just don't think that's important. Mental illness is romanticized in many corners of society, but I see it happening a lot more among and around artists. It is celebrated when an artist brings out a piece with a dark backstory, and I don't think that that's the problem. I do think that it's a place where problems can begin. Especially with artists whose fan base particularly enjoys art made out of this pain and maybe does not appreciate art made from a healthier place as much. I tend to connect this a lot with emo bands. Songs about sadness and despair do great, but when an artist or band starts to make songs about happier subjects, I don't see it encouraged by many people. I'm not going to pretend I have a solution. I don't. I think this is a very delicate subject. I want to express negative feelings through art, and I want my fellow artists to be able to do the same, because I think it's a very healthy thing to do, but I can also see the toxic aspects of the whole thing. I also want to add that this is not a problem that only artists face. I've heard a friend talk about how she found herself romanticizing the idea of the tortured intellectual instead of the tortured artist, and I totally see that too. I just want to explore this topic specifically because it is so close to me and it's something that I've thought about a lot, something I wish I could solve, but I don't even know where to begin. Maybe also because it's something that is too close to me, or because it's affected artists that I've admired for so long. It just feels like it's so ingrained in everything that art is. Yeah, sorry to end on that note, but that was all I found and all I thought about the subject for now. I might add something later. But thank you for watching this. All the references I used will be in the description, so if you want to learn more about this, you can look at those or look up your own things. There's plenty of videos out there who also explore this subject, so have fun, and I hope you enjoyed my art.